Good evening. Sorry about that delay there. I've got a new laptop we're working on. It's got some more features than the other one I had. It's a much more advanced laptop, but it's got a lot of different things that I've never dealt with before. It's got a mega graphics card and stuff too. So I do apologize for the delay. The new OBS has a IP binding setting when you auto set it up, and that's what the hang up was. YouTube wouldn't acknowledge my change, and I had to reboot. And anyway, it's up. It shouldn't happen again. Lesson learned. If you've watched some of my last videos here too, the minute I switched over to the new laptop, so I want to apologize first and explain what happened. You might have noticed some syncing issues throughout. There's a setting that I had no clue on. So when I edit my videos, everything looks fine. Even when I replayed the videos, everything looked fine. The minute I go and rendered them is when it happened. And I never checked them after rendering because once it's edited and it runs fine and the render has never been off, ever, until now. There was another setting that has to deal with frame rates. And you can't auto insta sync and advanced settings with different frame rates. Problem's been solved as well too. So there might be a few that still have some out of sync to them. I do apologize. I don't know if I will be able to do anything with those because once it's been processed and rendered, the original file has been out of sync too. It's just one of those things with some of the graphic programs. Again, had I known that some changes had occurred in there, I could have fixed it. But going forward, every video should be back to a normal state. Just learning curve. I didn't know everything about the settings in there. And there's a 4 gig graphic card and a bunch of other stuff involved in this that it's actually better than the program. So I had to turn off the advanced for those who know a little bit about this. And anyway, we're on the right track here. I'll be able to do some other things like run 2 cameras at the same time so I can show close-ups as well as screenshots and things like that and other things on the screen at the same time. End result, hopefully, I've been working on this for a little while, like a year, would be to be able to get direct lines in so I don't have to deal with StreamYard or anything else like that, and I'll be able to have live shows with people on or anything I want with a direct image capture of my own instead of having to use a service. I've got the cameras to do it. So anyway, hopefully everybody is doing well tonight. Before we get into it too deep, next Thursday's live show, I've got all the announcements for Halloween special show. There's going to be a couple $100 worth of stuff on one giveaway, and there's something else going to be given away. I'll shoot that out there too. So it's going to be a good giveaway. It's going to be reselling related stuff, some really cool stuff. I won't show what it is until the actual Halloween show, but I promise you it's some really good stuff. It's stuff that I could sell very easily. You can keep it. You can do what you want. It's historical items, something really cool, and it's a big box lot of stuff that you will get, and some artwork and stuff like that too. It's a contest. I'll be full costume. There'll be a video in front of next week's live show, giving you what's going to happen, some more things, because there'll be something you'll have to do, and you'll have to post something. Winner's going to be announced on Instagram. Everything will be shouted out on next week's show for the Halloween show. It'll be our regular live Thursday night show the week of Halloween. What's it, the 29th or something like that? I think Thursday the 29th. I think that's what the date is. But it's literally going to be 2 weeks from today is the giveaway. It's going to be a good one, I promise you. Just a thanks for all the support we get. So I've made it a very, very nice one here. So it's probably the best thing I've ever done giveaway-wise, so everybody should want to see that again. Want to be on Instagram if you want to get the whole aspect of it. There's going to be some things you'll have to write down from some other videos just to, be a winner. So anyway, that'll be all out next week. Now, let's see here. Who is on today? We'll go to some topics as the title says. Hey, Penny, how are you doing? And right below is Marty. For Patreon-wise, I just put a video up. The next part of it will be up tomorrow. It might be up tonight, but I really doubt it. I just have to render it still. It's already been edited and all that stuff. It was edited all together. So first half today, second half by latest tomorrow evening it'll be up. So it'll be a two-parter. There should be another one up on Sunday because I've got a store review and a little bolo to shoot out for Patreons as well on Sunday. Hey, Duncan, how are you doing? Relative in the hospital. I hope everything is okay there, Duncan. We just went through some of that here ourselves, so completely understand the need to step away. I've been dealing, and we've been going through an estate, just me, and it's been just a monstrous ordeal. It's taken up a lot of time, unrelated to any of the halls or anything you see here. I may show some of it, but I'm not really sure. Some of it's family and personal related too, so I don't know how much I want to get into it, but hopefully everything works out for you, Duncan. Yeah, thank you, Marty. Yeah, everybody's feeling pretty good, other than the allergy stuff, I think, at this point, maybe. Leaves are falling up here. I don't know what everybody else is looking out the window, but the colors are changing, so everything's really bright orangey and red and the whole works. This starts the best seasons of the year in my book. I love fall and winter and the whole works. Summer obviously is great, but I love the change of seasons. I miss that when we didn't live around, up in this area. We lived in Florida and then on the coast, and you just don't see snow or change of seasons very often. It's neat to have fall, in my opinion. I just love the feeling and for those who live up in the snow for Christmas, the wife had never been out in the snow, and we were up here, and it just almost like a blizzard happened, and everything was snowed in. Everything was closed. We had nothing to do that evening. I think the power had went out even, and it was just back on, and we didn't want to dig the car out, so we ended up walking in the snow, and it was coming down really hard too. We walked down to the convenience store and bought a bottle of wine and stuff, and had a whole fun, played the whole way back and forth, and it was a really nice time. But the quietness, that was the first time she heard the quietness. When it's snowing, it like muffles the street sounds and everything. If you haven't been in the snow, it's peaceful, I guess, especially if there's like Christmas lights blinking in the background and stuff. Fond memories as a child. That's one thing I always miss when I'm not around it. Hey, Hudson Resale, how are you doing this evening? Let me slide down. I've got a couple of laptops open today, so I wanted to switch, but I need to buy a longer cord. And once I get a longer cord, I won't be looking back and forth. I have to stretch everything over in the whole work. So anyway. Hey, Kathy, how you doing? Duncan and Annie make it this morning. This morning, I've got to remember the time difference and stuff. Duncan's from Australia. Annie's up in New England area. Nathan, how are you doing this evening? Carl Klasnex, how are you doing? Amazon Seller 99. Hope everything is well. How were your sales the last 2 days, Prime days? Last year I think I bought something during Prime, but I didn't need a thing. There was nothing I really wanted. I didn't buy anything, and our sales were just like a normal. In fact, yesterday they were actually better than usual, I would have to say, because I forgot. I did sell 5 or 6 78s to the same person. I could have sold probably 6 more if I wanted to go down to like $12 or $13. But I didn't know the guy was going to buy a whole bunch and stuff. And I usually don't go down below 15 or 17, depending on the record. And anyway, it was a pretty good day, actually, I want to say yesterday. That would put us over like $126. I know what he spent. He bought 6 discs, 126. I gave him a break, and they were some older 78s we've had. A mailing together, 1 box, and the whole works. Yeah, yesterday was pretty good, and today's been just fine. I think I noticed while I was waiting for this to load, someone had said their sales had been bad the last week or two. I haven't had an issue with revenue at all these last 2 weeks, and I'm not trying to brag. That's just what I see. It honestly and sincerely, from what I see, and been just doing this for so long, it all comes down to what you have on, and for us, it's quantity. Part of it's quantity, I should say. It's probably 60% quantity, and then the rest comes down to always investigating and looking into the items before we list them. I don't just list stuff without some potential on selling, even if at some point I got to discount it. Video yesterday I had out was literally, whose fault is it? Because I always hear the first thing is eBay hides your listings. The only way eBay may lower your listing spot or what you're doing or where it'll show up on a page is if, let's say, you got a bunch of negatives, you don't mail stuff out right, you don't have any action going on, or you've had like a bunch of returns, or you've done something, you've got some dings on your account, are the only ones that I personally could say that I would say, yeah, they might be limited in views. But again, they tell you they can do that. So I'm not going to ding eBay for it. I've paid attention to what they've said on all that. Not great if it's happening to you, of course. But if you've just, your store's fine, you don't have anything, no dings, no zeros, nothing, your feedback looks good, I don't see them hiding anything at all. And the sales issues, when I do see sales, mostly comes down from what I see. And again, I look at a lot. I've looked at hundreds of stores, like eBay stores, from folks throughout my 2+ years on YouTube, and it always comes down, it seems, to a good chunk of stores. The items just aren't the best items. I'm not trying to pick on anybody or anything else like that. When I started off in business, I had a guy named Lou, and there's a video literally on the guy. He was very inspirational to me. He really got me thinking like business wise, as opposed to just being some idiot working for somebody. But you got to dig into this. It's been one of those days. I'm sorry, it's been a real long day, but you got to dig into what's going on. It's usually items, though. That's all I can say. It's usually items. It's usually what the store has going on, keywords and things like that. I guess you got to see it from a different angle at one point. You'll just say, boom, that's the problem at some point, I would say. You'll have an epiphany, and it'll make sense, I guess, with things. Every time I look at someone's store, I always find the same similar issues. I probably have some too. I'm not, file-proof or foolproof at all. I've made mistakes. I had another one the other day that somebody else caught. It happens. When you list quantity, or if you got a ton of stuff up, it's going to happen. Even if you've got just a few hundred, if you're new, you're going to make some mistakes. And there's nothing wrong in the world with making mistakes. If you're not making mistakes, you're probably not learning anything. I don't mind trying anything. And if I mess it up or it doesn't go the way I want, I'll just try something else. That's just my take on that. One thing, though, with like when you look at the stores, I'm a brutally honest person if I'm looking at someone's store, and a lot of people take that the wrong way, and I usually get dings, like I'll get nasty messages like on the video from yesterday, about it's eBay's fault and stuff like that, and I'm not one to defend somebody if I don't think they're doing the right thing. And Lord knows, anybody who's watched my channel knows I've had my issues with eBay, and I don't trust a lot of the folks running it, but the company itself and the policies, the way they should work, are in place. And I think for the most part, they benefit most people. Again, you're going to run into stuff that's not happy. I've lost money because eBay sided with somebody. So, don't get me wrong. I don't agree with a lot of stuff they do, but overall, it comes down to your specific items. Cheaper items, too cheap items, improper title, photos aren't great, too much competition, flooded categories. It's just a fact. And if you're selling in clothing, and again, I'm not trying to ding clothing, because Lord knows we've sold clothing for quite some time. If you're selling in clothing now, keep watching the stores, your competitors. Most of the brick and mortar clothing stores have discounts all over the place online, including Prime, going back to Prime for Amazon Seller 99. The Prime sales were stuff that's probably been in stores, that they can't sell. So for them, it's a big push. They can mark it down. They at least get some revenue coming in to help the books for a fourth quarter that might at least save them for the year. Some companies obviously are just going to go under, but sales wise has been pretty good. I would gather Amazon's going to come out with like some record number. That would be my personal opinion. We'll know in a week or so, maybe, or a couple more days. Depends on how soon they want to publish those numbers. They might be kind of not wanting to put them out there, and Bezos just makes more money. And I know people aren't so happy with him as of late. I got another postcard from Amazon. I guess they're blanketing the entire communities around here with cards if you want to work in their Findlay or Genoa. It's someplace really close by. I can't remember it. Maybe it's like a 20-minute drive from here. They're building a big warehouse. I've been seeing Amazon trucks on our street even, which is kind of odd. I'd never seen them before, and all of a sudden they're all over the place now lately. So, they're moving in all over the place. And the city they picked is a small town. I don't know what's going on out there. I almost felt like driving out there just to see, but nothing I would ever do. But of course, topic at hand, why would you want to be a reseller? I think I've discussed that, but we're going to go into that in just a few minutes here, obviously. Let me get past my own issues here. Mr. Hale, hey Bob, how are you doing this evening? Hope you are doing fine. I do have a video up. I see Aaron here too. Video up in Patreon, as I said. There it is. Beth Lewin. Sales were bad this week. Had a sale and markdown, which helped a little. I don't know if you have a ton of items. It depends on how many items you up. I always have to say, a lot of the stores I ended up looking at had like 200 or 300 items, with a good chunk that were probably 60, 65, 70% that were iffy on the borderline. They were either $10 items with free shipping, or stuff titled wrong. Again, same basic principles with most stores. Or, price was wrong, or the photo was bad. Competition has been a huge issue for a lot of folks at this point. Too many competitors of the same items you're selling right this very second. Flooded categories. There's no answer for that I can tell you, other than diversifying your store if that's the case. Again, it comes down to quantity. If you're just selling average, what everybody else is selling, it's going to come up to quantity. You got to have quantity if you're going to sell just everyday average items, in my book. I don't know any other way to do it, or some gimmick, or you're going to pay to promote it one way or another. Now, I've dug into eBay's promoted listings. I still have people asking me about that. I don't do them. Haven't done them since a year or whatever it would be at this point. Haven't touched them. Not even a single one since all that fiasco. It kind of left a sour taste in my mouth, and I won't go back and mess with them again. I don't see much difference. I'm fine with what's going on. But the point of it I wanted to state was, from what I've read, and I read into this a lot, and I've had a couple people send me some links also. eBay, let's say you put a whole bunch of money or a high percentage into a managed payment. Again, this may not be how it works, but I've read it from somebody from eBay, pretty much verbatim on what I'm going to say here. That it doesn't guarantee you a top spot if you, say, put 20% instead of 5%. That increase of 15% doesn't guarantee you're going to land at the top of the page, from what I've been told and read. It just guarantees you, you'll get promoted somewhere. It doesn't guarantee you a good slot. They want to put the item that would sell the most, or the easiest, the quickest, in front of the people looking. So if there's other factors involved, even if you spend a lot of money, it may not put you in front of the right people to buy the item, just for other factors. And it could come down to your feedback or anything. Who knows what the logarithm is doing for that criteria. So that's why I say everything should be, pay close attention to, like your returns or your feedback, wording, how nice you are to people. And if somebody has an issue, I know a lot of people get all mad, even if it's, say, a piece of clothing or something like that. Even if they're ripping you off, there's unless you've got proof or something's going on, I'm still polite. I don't, cuss back and forth, because I don't want that eBay to see that on eBay either. It's instantly block them, and you move on. If you get ripped off, you get ripped off. I that's all I can tell you. You can file a police report. I've run into this with even police reports, and this comes straight from a high-ranking police officer. If, let's say, they're using a phone number and email addresses and stuff, you can buy those in banks nowadays. Like a whole group of phone numbers that just end up going to a dead spot where you can't, tell anymore where they go to. and it takes FBI, and even that way, it doesn't necessarily get the answer. So they can scam you any way you want. We were scammed a few times, and we've had to deal with filing a internet fraud case. We went to the FBI's page and all that kind of stuff. You're going to lose some. I can tell you right off the bat. We've lost some and lost some money. There wasn't anything you could do. It just the tracks ended, and there's only so much they'll do, I guess, for a certain dollar amount or something. I don't know. We have insurance. I've got a BOP, so if something like that happens and I can't recoup it through legal means, I can file for it if I need to, if it's a certain amount. So, there's always some sort of recourse if something happens. I know that was a little bit of a ramble there. I do apologize, but sales-wise, I just wanted to touch on all those good points there. Well, thank you, Carl Classini X. How are you doing? Hopefully you are doing well. What types of things do you sell? Back to Beth. Yeah, and thanks, Kathy, as well. Another Australian in the house. Yeah, it was us on this end here. Usually aren't off that much, but again, when new stuff comes on, I got new laptop, as I said. Had it for a while. I just been hesitant to switch over just for this type of reason. And I tested even like the live show tonight, and it ran fine earlier, and I did it on a private, went back and watched it, and everything was fine. Of course, there's always seems to be something happens. Butis Sounds, how are you doing? Amy, how are you doing as well? The Crystal Spiritual Healer, thanks for all your knowledge. Sending my thanks for the mountains of Tennessee. Well, thank you very kindly as well. I've been through the mountains of Tennessee quite a few times, actually. Sometimes low tech is good tech. Yeah, sometimes it is, but with security and things like that, I've upped everything, and we've got several firewalls. I've got subnets and all that kind of stuff too, just to spring everything off so it's not all tied together. Nathan Sandin, how you doing? Barlight Broker, good evening. Sunday Fun Day, Pamela Saban, how are you doing as well? Sunny Arizona. I've been to Phoenix a few times. Ended up in Phoenix, New Mexico for a job once before. Got to be the NSA. Computers, you can't live with them. You can't live without them. Bob, yeah, I love computers. I've got a computer degree. I do love messing with them. I get aggravated when stuff doesn't work right off the bat, and then turns out it's some little tiny radio button that's clicked automatically when you open up a program, which is annoying to figure out how to turn that off sometimes. Yeah, and it's usually not... the help page has nothing on that kind of stuff either, too. I looked for quite some time. Anyway, it was just something I had to figure out on my own, I guess. You just play with enough things. The video issue I had with the videos out of sync the other day, again, there might be some that are still out. For me to have fixed that, it took an entire day, because I had to keep reprocessing a video, and it takes like 30 minutes to reprocess it, so I can figure out where it was happening and what was doing it and causing the issue. And I had to do that like 6 times. So it took like 3 hours plus just of rendering time, rendering the video each time to see if this fixed it, did that fix it. And I actually had to re-edit, go back in and re-chop up, the video a second time, which took like an hour just for that. So I spent like most of the day. I got like nothing done the other day when I found out it was going on. Sometimes in the past I'll get people saying it's out of sync, and knowing that I watched it before and watched the full edit and the whole works, I assume there was nothing wrong. Because the last, I don't know how many times somebody said it was out of sync, it turned to be a local issue on their side, and it was their IP, their provider. Again, this time it was not. It was definitely an issue on my end. So thanks for those who did call it out as well. Gail Maker, how are you doing as well? Are you a collector? Good evening as well. Yeah, you'll get a touch of costume, the whole works, I think, next week. There's some intermingled video going to be on the live show, something I don't usually do, but there's going to be some stuff throughout it. Different set. It won't just be me sitting here and talking. I don't think at this point. Still working out the actual live production itself, but we're going to give away some good stuff, I promise. something, a nice care package, I will say. You'll want it, I guarantee it, if you like anything vintage. It's going to be some cool stuff. It's going to be taken from some of the things I've gotten in recently, so it'll be a nice little care package of some pretty cool stuff. Any more Weebles? Yes, we are finishing up one. I believe this weekend I should have another one rolling up, like Sunday night or so. We've reshot a few scenes here and there. We've messed around with some of the screen, and then sound-wise, I got the new lights. Some of the Weebles video shots were filmed with the old lights, and the new lights are just phenomenal compared to the quality and stuff like that. I do have a new lens in now, too, which was almost as much as the camera, for crying out loud. I couldn't believe it, but the difference on some of the video tests already were great. So anyway, we're going to reshoot a few here and there. Where are we going? Yeah, if you haven't hit the thumbs up, pop that thumbs up. Always get the thumbs down, which their prerogative. Love reselling part-time. Would love to set up semi-passive sourcing sources like you have done. It just takes time. That's all I can say. The more you do it, the better you'll get. The more you source and figure out new sourcing locations, the better you'll get at sourcing. Now, let's talk before we go anymore. Let's literally talk about who would ever want to be a reseller. I can honestly say from a large chunk of people that I talk to, in those just getting into it, over half of the people who start reselling probably will just give up. In all honesty, it just seems to be the case. Too many people, it's just too much work for a lot of people. They assume that it's just going to be so easy. You see videos, even you can watch my videos and see I find some pretty cool stuff and stuff that usually does fairly well. That's not, it's not something you just walk into. We've done it for a very long time. Well, I couldn't do this, 5-10 years ago. It would have been a whole different picture on what we found, what we sourced, and in the quality of it and the value of stuff and things like that. You get better and you find better sources and you figure out ways that no one else is using to find the stuff, and that's a big push, a big plus for your business. But it all takes time to move yourself up that way. When you first start off, it's always going to be a slow start. It took us like 3 years to hit any reasonable point where the income was coming in enough where I didn't have to worry quite as much. We still were paycheck to paycheck, basically the same principle, but I at least had more coming in where we were able to keep going with it. We didn't buy anything luxurious or luxurious or anything like that, or anything. I didn't worry about any of that kind of stuff. I don't care if I have a new car or anything either. So we just sunk it all back in and kept buying better and better stuff, and that's literally what got us to where we're at. If someone's serious about doing this, I would say when you first start off, take the worst job you've ever had, working for somebody, in your life, and then probably double that for your first year on eBay. That's probably how tough it would be to equal the same type of income. Now, again, that's not everybody, for sure, but I worked like 70 plus hours a week for, God, years it seems. No days off, or, a couple hours here I worked on my day off, and that was all I'd have to work sometimes. But 70 hours is probably a good, honest estimate, because you'd have to source 30 hours a week, and then you listing and packing and shipping another 40 hours a week, basically. And that's what it usually equated to. If you were lucky, when we first started, I'd take Sunday off. Part of it, I'd usually try and pack up a little bit if we sold a whole bunch Sunday evening, so I wouldn't have to do it Monday morning. We had small kids still, so you got to think about all the other time that you're going to have to take up in your week as well with what's going on. Most people that I know that work for somebody else wouldn't want to do that. At least the ones that I talk to and I know fairly well, they just wouldn't want to do that. They wouldn't want to be in that state for a length of time. They wouldn't want to see the forest before the trees. They're just looking at what they got to deal with now, as opposed to what it would be like in 3 or 4 more years if your business has grown to that expense or that step up. If you open a business, no matter what it is, whether it's brick and mortar, a flower shop or something, a bakery, you start off with nothing and you got to work yourself up. And if you really want to do it and you really want to be successful, everything goes into that business, your time, your hours, and everything for any type of business. So anybody who starts a business, has to be ready for that. And that usually is what knocks off probably 30% of everybody that I know that's tried it. They just didn't like the time it took. They sourced during the day, and then that by the evening when they came home, they were done. They were tired. They were used to doing 8 hour days or whatever, the 40-hour week, and they didn't want to sit at home for another 4 hours in the evening and list. But that's a typical day if you're doing it. You could be sourcing 8 hours and listing and photographing stuff for another 4 in the evening, Monday through Friday, and Saturday 8 hours, and Sunday 2 or 3 in the evening. That's a typical probable week for the average reseller, I would say. So who really wants to do that is the take on it, and that literally sinks a lot of people. Just again, if I talk about this stuff, usually the thumbs down usually goes up. So I don't really care anymore at this point at all. This is my opinion on that kind of thing, because again, most people who do start this do not succeed. They're not going to get enough coming in to get a full-time income. It's the breaks. That's the facts. Anybody else telling you do this or you do that, you're guaranteed to make it is not being straight, because there's no guarantees at all. Again, I know there's people who say passion is for suckers, but I'm passionate about what I do, and I don't really care if somebody thinks I'm not going to make it, or you're not going to do this, you're not going to do that. It just makes me work harder. And I don't really care if other people say that's too much work or too much that. This is what I want to do, so I don't really care. It's your mentality, I guess, too, to some extent, as to, if you're going to be successful at this. If you've never worked for yourself, you've got to put yourself on like lockdown kind of, so to speak, to just be centered in on the business aspect of it and not be steered away and sitting down. You're working at home, and that's a big problem for a lot of other folks. They can't break the home versus business atmosphere, and it crushes them. They're not motivated enough, and the TV's there and their phone's there to play games or something. And again, you got to give up a lot of stuff to be a reseller in my book. I couldn't do it otherwise. I've just worked really hard. It's just taken a lot of time, 10 plus years now, into doing this to get to this point. So, do you want to do that? Is that something somebody wants to do? If you don't want to be doing that, this isn't the right place for you, I would say. In general, reselling, too many people just think it's just, easy. Anybody does it. I see videos all the time. People, you just find this, you find that, garage sale videos, there's garage sales, but it would take me all day to get to like 3 of them, because there's hardly any with the pandemic going around here. So again, I can't live on stuff like that. And I'm not interested in going garage selling just to do a video to make the money off the video. I'd rather make the money from reselling than making the video. I get criticized for not doing those types of videos, and I constantly have people tell me, you get so many more views if you did this or did that. I don't want to do that. I'm not looking to be the guy that makes those types of videos for views. I'd rather just be the guy who talks about what I like and stuff like that. So anyway, not to dog anybody else. I don't really care what somebody else does. I don't watch anybody else's videos hardly at all. Dom's about the only one, and I haven't even had a chance to watch any of his for like a week now. My weeks, as I said, we've been going through an estate and a bunch of other stuff. Back down here. Regina, how are you doing this evening? Regina Pickin Lomo Style Hoffman. Well, welcome. Wendy, how are you doing? I'm still waiting on the new t-shirts. Yeah, to go in and do all that stuff, I just haven't had much chance to do much at all. They've been approved, I think. Maybe I'll have my son. In fact, I brought a tablet and then I didn't grab it right here to take notes in case there was something brought up, actually. Let me check on it and see where I'm at. I just started them, did them, submitted them, and then I haven't been back since, to be honest with you, on the t-shirts. There's 7 designs, I know that. In fact, let me make sure, because I had 3 more that the kids did. Oh, sorry, let me just write that down. Okay, sorry about that. We'll get something up on those. You got to go in and you got to approve them. Then you got to go and select the types of shirts and all that kind of stuff you want. I'm going to eliminate a lot of the stuff I have on the shirts when we go back in there and do that. And it'll just be all new everythings with just some simpler stuff on it too. But the shirts that I'll have coming out will be more geared towards helping you. So anyway. Elm Kit, how are you doing? Kathy, how are you doing? No color changes in San Diego. Maybe a little more brown with the heat. Yeah, grass is all brown around here, but that's usually winter for us. Any trending or trends you anticipate for this holiday season? Mess hall digs. I've got an email that I just sent out to Benny, and we might have a toy guy on still this year, as I said. I've got a few invitations from other channels to do some, one of their shows. I'm not going to do anything until I get back with Dom, though, on any of that kind of stuff. Just because he's usually my priority, just because we're friends. So anyway, but I'll be looking into having some toy guy on, maybe give you an insider before the end of this month. I don't know, but it would be in the first or second week in November. Otherwise, I think my schedule is much clearer on the second week of November. I'm literally booked up till then right now, I think. Other than one tentative date I need to shoot to Dom. Let's see here. Again, Dom, Primetime Treasure Hunter, for those who don't know who I am talking about. Again, if you haven't hit the like button, you are enjoying the conversation, please pop that like button. Always nice to get to the 100 mark before the show ends. And I've got 142 people in on my end at this point right now watching the show. Seems... Yeah, everything takes time on here. Again, it's taken us years to get to a point where we've got enough income coming in from reselling to, have sustainability and stuff. And then obviously it takes time to get the sourcing locations. Thank goodness we've been very well sourced lately. More so, I've got toys everywhere. I mean, it's just an ungodly amount of vintage cars, toys, figures, and stuff that we got in. If you haven't seen that video too, I got a haul video with just, a minuscule amount of it in there. We shot a bunch of hours of video, and then I ended up at just so much stuff. I didn't know what to even do with the video. There was so much video. Joe, last 2 weeks have been bad for my reselling. If you're, again, having reselling issues, I would seriously tamp down and look at the items, look at your keywords, do some comp researches on those same items, as well as do some research on active items that are identical to yours and see where the other sellers are on them as well. I look at my competitors on many different categories and key things that I do just to get an idea on what they are doing. You can look into the people that are selling as well and see how many, to some extent, they're selling, depending on what they have their settings in their store set at. So FYI, I do stuff like that. We've changed key aspects of like imagery and stuff in all of our listings in some categories just because of what my competitors were doing. And it has improved things. It's just the way people do it. Any business will look at their competitors to see. So look at what else is being sold just like what you're selling, or who's selling it, and see what they're doing with it. It could just simply be a keyword you're missing in some niche that you got a bunch of items. And I see that a lot even too, where they miss something. And I talked about animals in another video not too long ago. Just having the word pug, if you've got anything with a pug dog in it, will push your item. You'll get 20, 30, 40% chance, maybe even higher than that, of it selling much quicker and much easier having keywords like that in something. We've added like a word that I had no clue on, an image and stuff like that in the past. And within like a few days, it was gone at full price. And I've given other people examples, add this to the title, add that to the title, switch around your keywords, and stuff sells pretty quickly. It's again, I really think a lot of the issue is keyword, images, and price. Those three things, like I always say, those are the three things that if I mess around with those enough, it's going to sell. And if it's not sellable in those ways, I would say lot them up. If you've got 5 individual magazines like Life magazines and they're not selling because there's so many of them, they're common issues, they're only $8-10 issues to begin with, put them in a lot for $57, $50, $75 or something, bin BO, and take what you can get for them. Chances are you'll sell them for at least a reasonable amount. You may not get $8, maybe you'll get 5 a piece for them. You paid $1. Maybe that's all they're really worth at this point. There's nothing wrong with, making a mistake and paying too much for something. But if you pay too much for something, you can't mark it up if it's in categories that just doesn't work. Everybody knows what like a pair of jeans costs, depending on the brand. I know what my pair of jeans cost for the brands I wear. I know what my shirts cost typically. I know what a belt or shoes cost. So, or at least what I usually pay for them or am willing to. So you can't go over a mark just because you overpaid. One of the stores I looked at, they overpaid on a bunch of stuff. So they wanted to try and get as much of the money back. So they overpriced stuff in categories that were flooded. And what happened? They weren't selling it. Sometimes that could be an issue for folks too. Again, without seeing a specific store, there's no way to tell. I will have a store review, though, as I said, in Patreon on a video. Probably this weekend, as I said. I may even do it as a surprise live show on Sunday. I don't know, on Patreon. Sales-wise, again, my sales... Again, I sell like lots of stuff to the same people. Like one person may buy five or may buy 5 or 6 items. Another one the same day may buy 3 or 4. Another one will buy 2 or 3. It happens like almost every single day. I get multiple sales. So, if you've got like one-offs, you can't do that. That's another aspect of selling in niches and having a large percentage of stuff in those categories. Some of the niches, I'm like 70% of the whole category. They're small. They're not huge categories, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 items. It's not like, I've got 1 million items in one category. But if you can hit ones that aren't flooded, even though they're smaller categories, you've got way, way higher chance on selling stuff routinely. If you look at my videos on what sells, you can see I sell the same ththings over and over again for higher than everybody else sells them for, just by sheer volume of that category. If somebody looks in a category, it basically means that 3 out of 4 items they look at in that entire category are mine. So they're gonna buy from me, chances are 70% of the time, over anybody else. So that's just another ploy you can do if you can find a niche that works for you. The niches, I would say at this point, if you're clothing wise, the niches would be a little better chance, because you're not going to be in a flooded area where you're competing with the manufacturers at this moment. Some of the discounts I mean, like t-shirts for like $8 shipped from national chains and stuff like that, practically giving away for $2 and $3, by the time you have shipping and all that in there. So, it's high competition. I don't usually buy used clothing offline personally. I mean, I have no problem with used clothing at all. Just if for a couple bucks more, I can just get a new one to ship to the house if I buy, $30, $100 or whatever. So it's not a big ordeal to me, because I'd spend the same price in a brick and mortar. I don't buy anything extravagant. No, I'm not from Hollister. I have that question. Somebody asked me that like the 50th time this week, I think. Let's pop back up here. I tend to be too shy with pricing. Need to find balance, patience. Beautiful sounds. A lot of people, when you're starting off, pricing is an issue. I've said this before. Once you've done this for a while, it'll just be like a light bulb went off in your head, and you'll totally get the items that will do far better. I've been into this stuff. I've been selling for like 20 plus years, probably, 30 or more years. When I was a kid, like, 5-year-old, my aunt had antiques. My uncle was an antique dealer. A cousin was a local antique dealer. My grandparents, the whole house was like antique everything. In fact, we still have some of the furniture from hers that was passed down to her from her great-grandparents and stuff. The point of it is that I grew up around antiques, and I've just always loved vintage antique stuff. Our parents used to take us to Henry Ford Museum, Greenfield Village, all the historical places around here, and I always loved the forts and stuff. We went to the big fort, I can't think of the name, in St. Augustine. We've seen the cannons go off and all that stuff. So I've always liked this and always spent time watching shows. Even as a kid, sometimes I'd watch some of those antique shows because I always thought it was cool, like Washington's jacket or something, stuff like that to me is really cool, Picking a niche is a big, huge plus in my book. I know I have an up than most people would, but it just takes time. A lot of the stuff that we sell nowadays, I had no clue on, say, 8-10 years ago whatsoever. I had no clue that some of this stuff would take in this kind of money. Pieces of paper for thousands of dollars. And I know stamps sell for that kind of money, but I sell just what most people would say just junk or just some random image for a lot of money. Especially like Chinese related items, China items, all that kind of stuff is just like probably one of the hottest items right now. So I guess if somebody wants to know a hot item, a hot thing, Chinese items. They're going like mad. I just can't keep them in. As long as they're decent items and not just like everyday items, vintage, interesting pieces, they just go like mad, especially photos, covers, coins, stamps, even some of the uniforms. I had some buttons in here from some early Chinese uniforms and really interesting, unique pieces. I love that kind of stuff. It's a passion for me. You're going to have to get that balance, though, Beauty Sounds. You've got to not be nervous. Do a BO if you're going to price it high and see what happens. If it doesn't, get an offer or watchers or anything after a certain length of time, go back and look at them. You can sort your listings by how long they've been up on eBay. And then you can bounce around from page to page so you get where you want and then just go from there and edit them in that direction. When I edit something, I edit it usually by length of time it's on. If I'm going to do a promotion, a sales market, or anything, length of time on. Everything I do when it comes to pricing, titles or anything like that is started at the oldest listings first, and then I work forward. It's just what I do. I let the ones that are up just sit for a while. Usually don't do any markdowns on new items for quite some time. I try to hold off for a while, unless, let's say, it's got a bunch of watchers, it's been on for a while, and there's no movement. I might do a sale on it or offers to watchers. Oh, has anybody noticed you can now click... Again, there's another spot you can do it. Maybe I'll do a video just on that. But for those who are sending out offers to watchers, you can now click the radio button below it. So in the future, anytime somebody's watching that item from now on, you've got an amount in there that you can send that offer to. It'll automatically do it. You can turn those off too. Maybe I'll do that in a video as well. Loan-wise too, somebody asked me on the PayPal loans once you're in managed payments. You can still, it still can be processed from what I understand, but I think you have to contact PayPal for that, if I'm not mistaken. I know somebody is dealing with it right now, and they were able to get it rectified with paying off the last of it. eBay is now pushing it when you log into the hub on your items page. I don't know if maybe it's on every page. I wasn't paying much attention, but it has the loan option now through eBay all over the place, just splashed everywhere. Let me just give you a warning on it for those of you who are just contemplating doing it. If you're good with your money and your business is, you're going to stick this out, you're going to put in the extra work, taking out help, financial help to get inventory and to grow your business, there's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. Every business sometimes needs an influx in revenue to not just keep it afloat, but to bring in enough better stuff, I should say, to get the sales going. I wouldn't be anywhere if we didn't have some way and we just kept reinvesting what we had. It just took a heck of a long time. So there's nothing wrong with it. But if you're just not sure if this is for you, I'd be hesitant to recommend anybody in that thought pattern to do a loan, because you may get into it and then realize you're with the loan, and then you may get frustrated. It may not be going in your direction. It may not be going fast enough, and you might just drop out of doing it, and then you're stuck with the loan. And there's a lot to doing that, and it could sink you, financially if you drop off on this. My goal is to do this for life, so I don't, really care what it takes. Hard, not hard, whatever the case may be, we're going to do this either way, because I like the freedom that this gives me. That's the biggest thing that I can say, that I can just sit here and do what I need to do on any given day of the week without having to, answer to anybody. I don't have to have somebody looking over my shoulder to see what's going on. In all honesty, I could have run some of the businesses I think that I've worked for, or been regional vice president or something, and done as good, if not better, than the people, just from the experience I've had with running my own business. You get to do your own ideas, I guess, is a point. Freedom to think how you want, freedom to take your business how you want, freedom to spend time with your family whenever you want to do it. You can take off the holidays. When I worked for somebody, the whole time I worked for somebody, we could never have Christmas off. And we're talking 10 years at Disney. I could never get a holiday off. Even after being there 8, 9, 10 years, it took forever to be able to get a holiday off. You know, I didn't care about the weekends. I'd rather have weekdays off so we could go to thrift stores and stuff like that. You know, you got to do things like that, not worrying about weekends. I never worried about the weekend. I could always make more money having weekdays off and less competition and all kinds of reasons with the thrift stores. And that's literally when we took our weekends, you know, on the weekdays. Let's hop over and get to some more questions here. I know I'm rambling again. They would be an awesome problem to have. Selling thousands of dollars a day, that's a possibility for anybody. We've had a day where we did almost $6,000. That is our top day. I've had many days where we've done 2,000-3,000 in the same day, just on the one store, selling a couple high dollar items and a bunch of smaller stuff. Usually is how that works. Don't think it's not going to happen with you. You're going to run into something or a lot of something, and you're going to be surprised what can happen. Those sales are what, you know, drives me. I love those type of days where I just got this awesome stuff coming in and it's just selling like mad. When we start to list some of the buttons and some of the other stuff that I've got in, I'm going to be showing some really in-depth videos on, you know, what's sold and stuff, and we'll be talking in depth about those a lot. But I'm going to just crank out a whole bunch of merchandise all at the same time, and with all luck, you'll see a bunch of massive sales on stuff. Excuse me. Let's hop back on over. Maz Silver, how are you doing this evening? How do you see the future of the reselling platform going in the coming years? Well, thank you. Now, I think it's going to get harder for those getting into it. I'm not saying reselling is going to go away, but I seriously think it's going to get much harder, the opportunity for those just busting into it, because there's enough people out there at this point that know good prime sourcing locations. It's going to come down to literally being the first person at places. Around here, it's already that way. If I want to go to an estate sale, usually if I'm not like the first one in the door, I'm getting leftover just junk. Even like at the auctions, the table cleanups are great. Don't get me wrong, but sometimes showing up early and waiting in line for a couple hours is like the only way to get the good bucks. Sometimes, like in the beginning of an auction, stuff may go higher, but the stuff's worth much more. So you might sink out $500 and be able to flip it for $4. You might wait to the end and be able to get stuff for $20, but you got more time involved into it. So you got to weigh all those options, I guess, would be the biggest point on that. The platform, though, let's see what they do in the first of the year with the next major upgrade they're going to do, or, you know, rollout, because I'm sure there'll be another rollout. There's been too many surveys going around for them not to introduce more change coming out. I'll judge it from there. At this point, I don't see much change at all, or much issues with anything they've changed. Managed payments, for me, I have no issues. I'm fine with managed payments at this point. You know, cost-wise, it's a toss-up. One form for processing and stuff, I guess I'm okay with it all, I guess. Sure, I'd love to have the fees less, but, you know, I'm getting all the free listings. I still can't complain. You know, even if it goes up a little bit next year, you know, the basics, and I'm still getting the same amount of listings, I'm still saving thousands and thousands of dollars a year. I mean, this year is over $14,000. 14,000 if it was the whole year right off the bat. I mean, we've already made our totals like weeks ago for the entire year. I'm done for the year. If I wanted to shut everything off, I'd have hit my numbers already. I don't have to work another day the rest of the year. That's not a brag. That's just things keep rolling, and you know, we're putting in the time, though. I'm putting in the effort and the time, you know. Not to ramble again, but again, if you haven't hit the like button, we're up to 70 almost. Really be great to hit 100. We've got 142 people in-house right now. Let's see here, Kathy. Let's see, I don't want to miss anything. As you asked, 9% of the highest sold and weighed it out. Most of the work is done once it's in the storage bin. Yeah, once it's listed, you know, the majority of everything's done with the listing. Again, that's another reason why we've centered in on some of the stuff you see me selling more of. It's easy to list. It's easy to sell. It's easy to scan most of it. If it goes in a scanner, I love it because it's just minuscule. I can scan like, geez, I don't know, maybe 1 second or 2 seconds to scan anything. So 30 items a minute or something. Some horrendously high amount of stuff can go through the scanners we have. Third-party permission still reducing impressions. I accidentally had it left on this week. That's interesting still. I can't... Yes, that could be the case. We've talked about this before, and I've had some other people call that issue out again. Now, we have third-party apps attached to eBay. A third-party app is a app that's able to interact with eBay and the items to pull them to another site. Bonanza, any of the 3-hit platforms, Shopify, InkFrog, Sellbrite, what's the e-commerce Bytes or whatever it's called, the other one. Excuse me. All of those are third parties. And what it looks like, again, I have no proof. I can't say for sure this is going on, but the evidence is steering towards, again, with Kathy reaffirming that too, as well as several others, that with third-party apps on, any of them, your impressions goes down. Meaning eBay is not showing your items as much when third parties seem to be attached to your store or your account, I guess you could say. Theoretically, it would be something that would be within their means to do. I don't think, from what I've read in the user agreement, would be something they couldn't do either, because on one of their pages, I just saw this again, it says that you can't have an item that's on eBay listed on another platform. Again, this is probably something written 3 years ago that no one's just went in and changed, I would imagine. Because, again, they allow all these third-party apps. They have to give them permission to access eBay, and then you have to give them permission as well, too. So... is it possible that eBay, when you click and connect something to your store, InkFrog, Shopify, that you're losing out in sales because of lack of them showing you to potential buyers? It is very feasible and very possible, especially with like the way they make statements about promoted listings. They don't guarantee where it's going to be placed. It may not even be placed on eBay for all we know. You know, it'll be there. And there's nothing you can do about it. You can't, argue it. That's just the way it is. And that could be the same way for that as well. So I don't know. I'm up in the air on it. I do see a difference when we turned it off. We turned it back on. I did see a difference. I turned it off again. Did see a difference. Is something going on with that? I don't know. Again, eBay could do that without having violated their own user agreement, from what I understand and what I read. I can't blame them for if that's the case. It says that they can do things like that. Basically, if you read the whole user agreement, there's a lot of things they can do. Maybe that could be considered a penalty for having your items cross. Who knows? I don't know, but it would be interesting to study this for a little longer and see where it comes out. That's just my take on it. I'm not very trusting on those running the company, especially after video chats and things with heads of departments and such forth. And some of the answers I got, I just didn't feel some of the people who were running some of the departments didn't know how things worked with some of the issues they were supposed to be over, is the way it seemed to me. Anyway, I'm not here to badmouth anything like that. Overall, if you're going to work hard and not give up on this, you got a good chance to make it. Around where I'm at, if I wasn't selling what I'm selling, I'd be out of business though. So keep those thoughts in mind. Like if you're sourcing at thrift stores and stuff and it's getting harder and harder, it's just going to get harder and harder and harder and harder the more time goes by. So you better be looking for other ways to find items or better items. If you're locked down again, there's going to be issues with that too. Craigslist are still opportunities to purchase on there. I haven't been on Craigslist in a while, but last time I looked, I could have went out and picked up some stuff that I could have made money on there. Just random looks. I usually look through collectibles and antique stuff on there too, and the freebies page usually too. Let's pop on down. eBay has always been good to me. eBay has been good as a selling platform, but as the people running it, they have not been good to me or most resellers in my book. Just some of the decisions they make have been horrid decisions. And obviously we know about the federal case. Nathan King, the truth hurts. Keep being truthful. Yeah, I don't really care anymore. If somebody wants to down thumb my video because I'm telling you it's hard and you can't just watch somebody's video and make a fortune, you could watch every single video I have up or every single video everybody has up on YouTube. It's not going to guarantee you a darn thing. I can tell you that. You can take all the courses you want. You can take out any book from the library, but until you get out there and do something with that information, you know, and a lot of the information people give out only is useful to a certain percentage of people in the first place. If you're not selling what I talk about, then my channel is perfectly useless for you. It's not going to be any good for you if you're not interested in expanding or doing this kind of stuff. You know, at least that's my take on it. Been on eBay since '98. Just got a gift from them of $25 and a thank you. Free money is good money. Yeah, they sent those out. I got a free t-shirt. I got a tumbler, a little red tumbler with like a snap-on lid, some pins, stickers. It was a little box. There's like 10 things in it. I was really surprised. And we did get a $25 card. I think we've gotten two. We got one for... Yeah, I think we got two of them. We got one for signing up for the eBay Open thing in Detroit, and then we got the one for being on for 25 or whatever, their 25th thing that they had. I haven't even opened the shirt up. I have no idea who it'll fit or anything. Maybe I'll give a little package or throw it in with the Halloween giveaway on that week. Butis sounds just retired, aiming to amp up. Completely understand. Hey, Craig, Landshark Pickers in the house. I haven't had a chance to get to your channel. For those who don't know, Craig here, Landshark Picker, he's a real good guy. He's been in a video. Check his channel out as well, too, if you get a chance. Craig's always pops on here. I don't have much chance to go to hardly anybody's videos, even Dom's. I haven't seen anybody's in over a week, or around a week, I guess. Kathy... I've had a bunch of East Coast sales. Weird because I use Calc shipping and they should be seeing the highest shipping. West to East Coast, no complaining. Most of my stuff goes to the West Coast. Excuse me, my dog's down here somewhere. Yeah, I wouldn't complain either, of course not. NH Guy, how are you doing? Hang on, I just lost where I was at. Let me see if I can pop back up. Hang on 1 second. I see Craig, so I know I'm getting close. There we are. I'm finding that buyers aren't balking on paying shipping lately. A good thing. Excuse me. Free shipping bites me in the tail sometimes. Yeah, I charge for shipping on every single thing I do these days. I don't think I have anything up right now, free shipping, that I can think of. There's two mentalities. If you buy clothing, a lot of people expect, because the retailers do it, to get free shipping. If you're buying antiques and collectibles, it was always mail order, so you always had to pay shipping. So if I'm selling vintage, I've never had somebody complain about the shipping itself, other than, say, maybe someone from overseas because it's $14. Them trying to get me to put it in a regular envelope and bypass the import-export. I don't do that at all. I never alter any forms. It's just, don't do it. You know, if I'm not mistaken, it's like a low-level felony if you alter a import-export form. And I think Homeland Security can even charge you with something if you alter. Again, who knows if it would be something they would mess with even, but the chance is that it's against the law. You could get in trouble. And maybe at some point they'd be able to just do that digitally, you know, and just send you a fine. So I'm never going to want to risk anything like that. And I don't want to be on somebody's bad boy list either. Yeah, with free shipping and distance, yeah, I got you on that. If you're if you're new to reselling and you have free shipping and you're not accounting for the fact that the item's going to like some long distance and you've got like a low amount and you're not doing calculated, like if it's local, it may only be like $6 to send one package out. That same package to, say, California, if you're on East Coast, could be $50. You never know. So I've had many people tell me they lost money on shipments and things like that. I always do calculated. Never ever do free shipping, even on big items. It's just so much easier. I weigh it all out. I weigh it out with packing material. That's my final weight on there. So when they see the total cost, it's the exact cost of the item. And most of the big stuff I ship out, other than some toys, are, you know, vintage stuff. Picture frames I mail out. In fact, I got a massive one here I got to ship out. Those are usually the biggest things I ship out lately. Well, thank you as well, Brian. Let's see here. Joe Laley. Rachel gives me a different way to source. I pick a yard estate sales with a whole different perspective, looking for things I probably didn't think was a big deal. Well, thank you, Breadman. Appreciate that. I love vintage. I am a vintage, turning 60 on Monday. Well, happy pre-birthday, but I'm immature, so I don't feel 60. Mid-century is still on fire. Yeah, mid-century does fairly well, but mid-century has been selling for like 20 years. Andy Warhol era is just like hot right now. I think that's the biggest era. Eames era stuff goes fairly well, but they're usually fairly scarce. Furniture-wise, that's like the hot things. A lot of people don't mess with that. There's a high investment rate, and if you don't know your furniture on stuff like that, you can get taken really easily. Some of the reproductions and fakes just look so darn good. My father did some reupholstery and stuff. I at least know what to look for to see the difference between old furniture and new furniture. Plus, we've got antique furniture ourselves, so... Goodwill bins. Yeah, our closest Goodwill bin is 3 hours away. So I've never been in a Goodwill bin that I can think of. Kathy, I'm at year 2, so hopefully we'll be totally self-sufficient in 1 more year. You're in Australia, so I can't speak specifically, but it took us 3 years, as I said, to get to a point where the revenue coming in equaled a full-time income, and it was routine and regular. I want to say we were at like 10,000 listings at that point. I could be wrong, but it's been so long. 7 years ago or so, I think, since it's been that point. 60 is the new 40. Yes, indeed. Lone Star Picker, how are you doing as well? When I did, I have a job. I listed all weekend and packed and sent items before I went to work each day. I did the same thing. We pretty much always did eBay since I first found out about it way back in the day when it used to be a Pez site, basically. I always did my weekends. We ran 3 sets of auctions, and I just took 1 weekend off a month, and that was it. So I worked 3 straight weeks and took 1 weekend off. That's what we usually did. So I did 3 week-long auctions. There weren't bins at the end those days, so it was just all auctions. So I'd list them on Sunday, all day Sunday. That's all I'd be doing every Sunday. Saturday would be photographing, and getting everything in order and all that kind of stuff. Sunday morning till night was listing 12 straight hours on my days off usually. And then from there on out, we'd roll it through the next weekend, do the same thing, pack up before work, either late Sunday night, my wife or somebody else would outpack, and then Monday morning we'd send the rest of the stuff out, in the mail, whatever sold. And then as the week went by, at my lunch break, I just wouldn't take much of a lunch, or I'd eat something in the car on the way to the post office on my lunch break, and that's when I mailed all my stuff. Because if I did it when I got off, it was closed, and it wasn't open before I went into work, so I had to do it on my lunch break. So most of the week, if I had stuff going out, I didn't eat much. I just worked and tried to grab stuff while I was working. I worked in restaurants, so at least I could grab while I was moving. And my dog's down here. My nose is starting to bug me now. Yes, please hit the like button. We're getting close to that 100 mark here. We'll stay on for a little longer. I was going to get off a little earlier, but things aren't going so bad. So now that I'm back on and we're not running late again, so... Yeah, thumbs down. YouTube looks at thumbs up or thumbs down just as activity on the video. On the back of the house, if you're in the studio, you can't even see the thumbs down from the pages that I use. I have to go to a separate page to even look at them. The only time I even know if there's thumbs down is only on the live show these days, because I don't, and only because it's right in front of my face. I don't even care what it says anymore, because it never affects anything on my side. Nothing is affected whatsoever, money, financial, nothing-wise, by any of those, the thumbs down. Of course, I'd rather people like it. I wouldn't like to put out content that nobody liked, but anyway. I don't have a job. I'm packing before... Hang on, I can't quite see that. Before the sun comes up. When the sun comes up, I'm listing and photographing, and in the afternoon, I'm sourcing in bits and pieces. She has a good routine. Again, it takes a lot of work. I get up before the sun pretty much every day of the week. Tomorrow I'm up at 4 a.m. I've got some things to do, and this weekend should be a little less hectic. This weekend, Sunday, is going to be just playing around. I'm not going anywhere Sunday. Saturday morning after, I think, 2 we're done. So I'll have a little time this weekend. And I'll catch up on everything. We'll get a couple more videos done as well. As I said, the Weebles video will be coming up. I'll have it as a surprise on which one. Chances are I'll have some Instagram little videos on upcoming stuff. We got some interesting things in here. I picked up the rarest boxed Weeble in existence, a US one, just the other day for her. Spent a lot of money on it, but it's the rarest one. We've never even seen one in a box. I didn't even know what the box looked like until one popped up. That's going to be in a future one, too. We shot some video on that. I've got like 4 hours of Weebles videos stuff here. We put some videos together and we've changed them, and as we've progressed and they've gone out and stuff, I've changed them up a little bit here and there. We've added some segments and stuff. So anyway, for those, again, let me just holler again, those in Patreon, I do have another video that just went up. You'll see a bolo, something that I just found, and it's a real easy way to tell those items, you know, which ones to buy instantly just by looking at them. So watch the video. The second half will be up tomorrow, and I think Barbara is the one that I'm showing her buttons into. So that'll be up tomorrow, though. It's all done. I just have to render. Marie S. started selling on eBay after watching your videos and a few others. I appreciate all your tips. Are very helpful. Well, thank you very kindly. Sean Weiber. I've been doing this full-time since 1999 and work 8 to 10 hours a day, 7 days a week. I have sacrificed a lot of family time to provide a good life for them. Again, it all comes down to that. When I worked for... My wife didn't have to work after we had children. And that was a conscious effort, just with daycare and stuff like that. We all decided, and this was a group, you know, me and the wife, that we'd rather make less money but be tighter and be here together. So many people are just about the money, and people saying, yeah, I'm lying, or I'm just faking it or something. I would far rather have time with my family and freedom to be with them than have money. I honestly, I am, as a family, me, my wife, my kids are so much closer than most of the people we know. Not saying they're not close and they don't love their family and their kids and stuff, but we're way tight-knit family because of, you know, the stuff we've been through and never having a lot of money until, you know, modern days. Even when I worked as a regional manager, you don't make a ton of money. Even 6 digits may sound like a lot to somebody, $100,000 a year, but living in D.C. and your apartment is $3,000 a month, and, you know, even $120,000 a year working for somebody in certain cities isn't a lot of money with 2 kids and a wife and the whole works. You know, so money isn't everything, in all honesty. If you're in this to be a millionaire, there's like 0.1% of all resellers are going to make it to that status point, I would say. You know, that shouldn't be your goal if this is what you want to do, in my book. You know, to be successful and to make enough to be happy and not to worry and have money in the bank. Security is great, and that's the feeling, and that's what I get from reselling. Do you want to do all those hours? Are you able to do all those hours? A lot of people have an issue trying to be the boss of themselves, too. You know, there's not somebody constantly telling you need to keep doing this, you need to do that, you need to get this many done before you can stop, you need to do this. I'll look at the clock and say I'm not going to stop until I do this. If I'm editing videos, I don't take a break until I hit 10 minutes or 15 minutes into a video or whatever the length of the video is or something. I don't stop until the video's done. So I'll take my break when a video's rendering because that laptop's now locked up. I can move on to another laptop to edit something else if I want to then. You know, you've got to be able to set yourself a schedule and stick to that schedule to be successful. And I don't know any other way to tell you to do it. There is no formula. There is no course that's going to let everybody be successful. It's just not out there. Now, I'm not saying a course isn't going to help you or might not, you know, it'll give you a shortcut, I would say, but you still got to do all the legwork at the end of the day. These days, eBay's pretty easy to grasp how the site works and policies and things like that. It's not like the old days when it was almost impossible to find anything useful on information on the site. It's changed a lot. It is for the better. I know people will ding me for that, but it is for the better, I would say. Let's go back to some more questions. I know I ramble. Yeah, we did the sacrifices. Definitely 100% correct. I've devoted a heck of a lot of time to this, and that's all I do. If we're not out with the family, this is what I'm doing. I'm doing reselling of some sort. When I get offline or get off the live show tonight, I'll probably pull some toys over and get a few photos so I can start moving them. I'm doing a few a day, so I'm not just overwhelmed with toys all day long. I got some Halloween stuff in too, so I need to get some of these kind of things up too. I know it's late, but I just got them in, so you get them in and you sell them right away. If I list stuff like that, it'll be gone almost immediately. Let's see here. Where are we at? Nathan King, we're supposed to have a big Amazon warehouse built in Topeka. Oh, I'm sorry, Tupelo, Mississippi. My vision on the one side is still screwed up a little bit. Yeah, they're putting a bunch of them in there. I mean, they're going to rival. I don't know anybody who's going to be able to compete with them at some point. I can't see it. They're getting out of hand in that aspect of it. It's great for selling, but when your competitor is the site you're selling on, it's not good for some items. Let's see here. Excuse me. Marjorie Holman, the stuffologist. It's better to do all those hours for yourself rather than work for your butt off for someone else. Definitely, 100%. You have over 77,000 feedback, if I'm reading that right. I think we got 12. I don't even look at it, like 12,000 maybe on one account and close to that on the other one. Once it hits a certain point, unless I get a negative or something, and I get a warning on that, I don't even look at my feedback in all honesty. I couldn't even tell you the number it is right now. Even on YouTube, I don't hardly look at the subscriber count until it hits a certain number. I'm not driven by those numbers like that. Not anymore. I know it's good to get to a certain point with feedback, just it shows you're established. So I'm not trying to ding on it, but once you get so many of them, they constantly come in, and I can't keep track of it. If you had 77,000, they're just going to be rolling in constantly. I can pretty much tell you. It seems less people leave feedback on eBay these days too, I should say. I think there is danger when thinking hard work equals success. I feel it more about analysis of how you spend your time and the return on that time. I see some people who work very hard making little money. That is a good point. That's why I say a lot of people who haven't managed or don't get the business yet will be wasting their time, and even though they're putting a lot of time in, may not be productive. If I'm not making money doing something, or I used to offer a service in my Patreon page where I would, have phone calls. And I still have people who used to do that, used to a lot. I couldn't do it because I'd have to charge too much for my time. Again, my time goes to where it's the most valuable. If my time is more valuable to do this aspect, that's what I'm going to do with it. I'm not going to do something that wastes my time. Just like when we're having somebody list stuff. If they're not going to be able to list so many items in an hour at a certain dollar amount, I'm not going to have them list those items. It's just not practical. So again, we steer our business toward things that are easier to list, that are not going to have issues, so my time is tied up in things that have a return on my investment. Like if you have employees coming in and they're doing stuff that's not giving you anything back, like cutting up a box or something, maybe it saves you some time, but they're not producing revenue, so to speak. The production of revenue that's what everything is tied to. If something doesn't work, or perfect example, we were Shopify. We had Shopify, InkFrog, and the whole works. I had a point where I was spending too much time doing that versus getting more stuff up for fourth quarter. So we cut off Shopify. I just totally shut it down temporarily, and we went into a totally different mode, and all we're doing is getting stuff up right now. Again, Like Carl Klassen X says here, we're not just throwing junk up, though. We're investing and analyzing what we're listing. We know that the stuff we're listing is decent stuff and has a good potential of selling. So the hard work I'm putting in is for stuff that is selling. Like if I list something, I'm selling a certain percentage of those every day. The percentage that we sell, 3 to 5% of whatever we list that day, is enough usually to pay for the labor and pay for the items. So any other thing that sells after the first day, and this is almost always, and I'm not just saying this is literally anybody who lists 100 items a day, 50 items a day, knows there's a percentage of those that will sell very, very quickly, and those almost always pay for everything we bought in the purchase of those items and the time. So I'm getting a return on my investment. And with what we're selling on top of the new items, that's where the revenue keeps increasing. That's where you get your money in. So if you're, doing stuff and it's not getting any money in, or you're listing $6 items with free shipping, you're crazy. Or listing 99-cent listings in the hopes that you're going to make a ton of money on stuff like that. You might just have a whole bunch of people show up and buy 99-cent items and you're going to lose. I don't do anything like that. My time is worth a set amount, and it's at this point it's a couple $100 an hour I can make if I'm doing certain things. So I can't do other things. It's just not practical. Now, obviously YouTube and things like that are a different story. I don't judge my reselling labor, my personal labor on stuff like that. It's a totally different atmosphere. Hey, Steve Elmore, how are you doing? Good to see you in as well. TikTok. Time equals money. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Kathy, that would be me until I built up the store enough. I think that's when people give up. Yeah, people do. As I said, people give up. A lot of people, once they realize it's going to be a day in, day out haul, actual labor, and you're going to sweat, you're going to get dirty, and it's going to be long hours, long days. A lot of people think, I wasn't working this hard and I always had a steady income, and it's just not their thing. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. There's no bad side to say, hey, it's not for me. A lot of people, something's not for them. For me, it wasn't working for somebody else. That wasn't doing it for me. I couldn't work for anybody else anymore at this point in my life. I mean, I'd be thinking about shooting my foot off to, collect unemployment or something. I couldn't imagine having to work in foods or retail or any of that kind of stuff again. It's depressing after doing it for 20 years and this point in my life, with my kids and all the time I missed. Again, this honestly and sincerely comes down to freedom more than anything else. And anybody who just wants the money, that's fine and dandy. That's yours. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that either. But for me, I'm a family person. That's all that I really mostly worry about in the general scheme of panic and stuff. I worry about the wife, I worry about the kids and my direct family around that, and that's what's key and important to me. And if I make a little less money, I'm fine. I don't care. You get what you put in. So if you put in so much and you're getting so much out and you're fine with that, that's fine. Everybody has their own level of what they want from something, and find what works for you. But again, it's going to take a lot of hours and a lot of time. There is no magic bullet. There is no one video out there that's going to make you the best reseller, and you're going to make $1 million every year if you sell 50 of this or whatever it happens to be. It doesn't exist. That's a fable, a fantasy to sell a dream so you watch something, I guess. That's just my take on it. Again, there's a lot of good YouTubers out there who give you a lot of good information, including some I talk to who do have courses. So I'm not saying all courses or all that stuff is bad, but there are a lot of bad ones these days. There's a lot of people that don't really resell. They only sell courses, about reselling. I resell, and that's what I like. I mean, if I had to only do reselling or YouTube, I would be a reseller. Just in all honesty. I mean, I love YouTube, don't get me wrong, but if I could only do one, it would be reselling. Just hands down, just because I see so much cool stuff, Anyway, I don't want to ramble on that too much. Any suggestions to balance regarding burnout and things to do in order to remain mindful? Excuse me, my dog's down here driving me nuts. The one thing that I love to do if I'm outsourcing, I don't mind going to one of the ones on the other side of town, because what I do is I crank up the radio, windows down, and just flying down the highway, rocking out to something, and it kind of takes my mind off of everything else. I'm back. I'm 17, where I have no cares in the world for that drive, and it's just like a refreshing. It's like going for a walk in the woods. That'll refresh me too, or jogging or bike riding. Something to totally get your mind in another groove is what I do. If I'm listening, there's music playing or a movie playing in the background or something. I got playlists and stuff. I talked about if somebody wanted me to share, but I've got a 90s playlist. I got an R&B playlist. I got a bunch of playlists with hundreds and hundreds of songs. My alternative playlist is like days long, I want to say, but I love having music on or something while I'm listening, and it doesn't distract or make me mess up when I'm listening. It's motivational. I'm a music person. Everything is tied to music to me. Run around the block, get your heart pumping. That could be something you could do too. I don't get burned out because I know where I literally came from. I know how my life has been. My parents never had a lot of money. I was always the picked on kid, the nerd with glasses that weren't cool, and the out-of-date clothes, the clothes from garage sales. That's where my mom bought a lot of our clothes when I was a kid. And, I went to a private school because, I was picked on so much at the private school or at the public school. Anyway, I know where I came from. I know what I had to deal with. And for me, I've never been happier in my life. I don't need any more motivation other than, my family's here anytime I want. I don't have to listen to somebody else giving me bad advice, telling me I should do this or do that. I don't, this is what I'm passionate about. I guess that's the biggest thing. If you're passionate about it, that I don't get burned out because this isn't just a job. It's more to it. We've got other things going on with it, like, doing some books on some of the stuff we sell, like a record book I've been working on forever, and a button book and stuff like that, and things like that. I'm really into it. I can't give everybody a specific that's going to stop you from getting burned out. For me, I've got a schedule. I do the same things at the same times of the day, and it doesn't bother me. For many people, maybe that bothers you. Rotate your schedule. One week you work, list in the morning. The next week you list in the evening. Go and go to the park in the morning or do this in the morning. Just set up yourself up something different. Drive to a different area. Honestly, for me, though, just cranking the car up on the highway and, a 20-minute drive somewhere with the radio blaring or something and the windows down, it's a good, refreshing thing for me. Walking, running, jogging, riding the bike. I love riding the bike full speed, like through the woods and stuff, going in and out on the trail that goes in the tree through the trees here. One of these days, maybe I'll put my GoPro on the front of the bike and just do some video to show you guys. I love cranking through there. That kind of thing I like. That thing gets me going too. And you're putting a roof over your head. You're feeding your kids, your wife, and the family. I mean, there's nothing more honorable than doing that. I mean, that for me, that's all I need for motivation. I don't need anything else, I guess. Again, I've never been so well off in my life, even working some, regional manager jobs. I'm doing far better now than even as a regional manager in charge of $11.2 million worth of stores. I'm far better off in not being restrained. And again, some people to restrain, you may need someone to guide you when you first start off running your own business. You may just not have the abilities or the knowledge to do it. If you're a one-person business, you've got to, do your everything. Payroll, if you've got employees, you've got to do shipping, receiving, purchasing, your taxes, your inventories if you're doing inventory. Everything is you. You've got to handle guest complaints, everything. And for someone who's never done it before, a lot of people make mistakes doing that. A lot of people won't realize that, an issue with vintage items may be more important to the person buying it than they think it is, and may not list something and get mad at a buyer and get a nasty feedback instead of just being nice and offering them. You gotta know guest service, and it's just not about throwing something up online and you're going to make a ton of money. It just doesn't work that way. I can't express that enough. There's just no way that's a viable means. You got to have a whole package deal to get this to work. It's as a full-time business, I'm saying. I know there's a lot of people who do this part-time, and there's a lot of YouTubers who are part-time. I get people telling me about them all the time. again, I did it part-time, but we've worked up, and I make more now than I did as a regional manager, making well into the 6 digits for a national company. And I have no reason to look back. I have no burnout rate because I know what I used to have to do. And I know what we used to bring home. I know that I didn't used to have a bank account like we do now. I know I only had one bank account then, not multiples. If I need something these days, I can buy it. I don't have to wonder, going to the grocery store, do I have enough money to buy an extra box of cereal this week? I've been in that spot, especially when you got small kids. So, I'll say this again, a Cinderella Man. There's a spot in there when he's fighting, and he sees his kids and where they had to sleep and not having food in the breadline and stuff. And, if you've got kids and that's all I need. I just know that I don't want my kids to not have what they need and stuff like that. So, motivation. Go on now. I'm sorry. It has to lay at my feet. Let's get some more in here. Drink. Nothing wrong with drinking. Mess Hall Diggs. Thank you as well. Yeah, we hit 100 on the likes. I know I'm behind in the feed. We've got 160-ish people on right now. Let me pop down a little more. Is sales issue on your platform, and do your homework and research as mentioned. Take down and relist sometimes helps. Now, I find that the best thing to help you is to raise the price by $1, lower the price by $1 in another month. I up and lower prices in big bulk quantities. Only do, let's give you a perfect example how you can figure it out yourself if it's going to work. Go ahead, like I've got my bin numbers in my titles. I can just do a search in my listings page in the hub and pull up all my listings in one single bin. I can just do something with those listings. I can up those listings by $1 or whatever, $5, depends on the value of the items, and see what happens. You can do that. You can track how many of those just from that one specific area had anything going on with them. Again, you're going to have some sort of quantity to judge it by, but I get the exact same results as those who end and sell similar just by doing that. And I don't have to do any of that stuff. I can do it in big bulk. I don't have to do one at a time. It saves me times, and at the end of the day, I'm spending less time to get the same results. That's how I see it. If it works for you, or you've got proof that it works, go ahead, be my guest, do whatever you want. But I've done all the tests. And just by sheer luck, the same items could sell, or again, by auto relisting on its own, it does the same basic thing. But when you end your listings and hit sell similar, you kill the static link off of eBay. 30% plus, what's it like, 32% right now of all searches on items for eBay are coming from a Chrome search or an off-platform search. And they're searching, the only way they can do that is by a static link. The minute you end that by hitting end and then sell similar, you kill that static link. So even if it shows up on the first page of say, Amazon, they're not going to be able to find your item. It's not a live item anymore. And those are far more important, in my opinion, for longevity to show up, because it depends again what you're selling as to how important it may be for you. But like with Google Shopping and stuff, it all matters to me. There's a lot more going on than those folks who are only looking at the eBay itself part of it, because a lot of the stuff, as I said, does come from off platform. And if you're not getting that 30+%, you're losing 1 in 3 potential possibly off the start by cutting it off by ending and then selling similar. There's no way anybody's going to find you off platform. That's the point. And that number's just gone up. Every year it's gone up a percentage or two. It used to be like 20%. It used to be like 10%. It was 27 or so, or 28, I think, last year. It's 30 this year. 32 almost heading this final fourth quarter. So it's going up. And you got to be aware of that in my book. You're losing out if you're not. I wouldn't do that. I never do that. And even if I wanted to, how could I do that with so many listings? It's just not practical when you have a certain way. You got to figure out what else works. Kathy, I stalk my competitors all the time and get some ideas as well. Yeah, always, your competitors are your perfect example on ways to fix and do your store up. Look at what other people are doing. There is nothing wrong whatsoever with looking at your competition in any way, shape, or form. It's just not an issue. It shouldn't be an issue. I've learned a lot of things from watching people who have sold in niches longer than I have. I've overtaken them now because of other issues in quantity and things like that as more dominant in some categories. But I only do the zoom ins because of someone else. And that zoom in alone has probably increased my sales by like 20 or 30% in some categories. Because I'm like the dominant image. I blow all the other ones who aren't taking the time to do nice scans and stuff. You know, in some of the categories I'm in, probably 10% have decent images. And, you know, those are mine. And it's a big, important issue for those who don't take good images or aren't investing or don't have enough lighting or don't take them outside or whatever it takes. You're losing out. You're losing sales. No doubt, 100%. Anybody who doesn't have good photos is losing some percentage of their sales. Hands down, that's 100% true. You know, and anybody who tells you bad photos are going to sell something are crazy. Maybe some items will still sell with bad things, but there's a lot of people who, if they can't see the item enough, aren't going to buy it from you. So anyway, I think we're going to head towards the end here. It's going on a little longer than I even anticipated. Next week's show, again, is the preview and the rules and everything else you need to know for the giveaway for Halloween, the show on Thursday, the week of Halloween. So a week in advance, you get all the criteria and the whole works. It's going to be the biggest giveaway I've ever done. It's going to be a valuable box of collectibles and things, as well as some artwork, stuff that, you know, will get you some money, or what you keep it, or whatever else you want. There's going to be some really nice stuff in there. Again, I'm going to be in full costume, the whole works, head to toe. There's going to be some video mixes in there in the whole works too. The other half of the video I put up on Patreon tonight should be up tomorrow, as I said before, end of evening, with Barbara's items in there too. So I do appreciate everybody coming on. Hopefully everybody is doing well. At least hopefully everybody is healthy. Sales are still going. I don't see a major crash or anything at this point. So hold tight. Do your best. Look over your items. Compare yourself to your competitors. Look at comps again. Change things around as you can is your best bet right now, especially if you can't get new items up. But hopefully everybody has a good day, and I thank you all for coming on tonight.